This is NHTV2, North Haven Government Television, a service of North Haven Community Television. The following program is brought to you through the support of the Town of North Haven.
I'd like to convene the North Haven Fire Commission meeting for February 25th, 2026. I'd like everyone to please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We're going to deviate from our normal agenda today. We have some wonderful opportunities here. We're going to swear in Cole Januszewski. We also are privileged to have our town attorney Jeff D'Onofrio here, who will be presenting as well. But I'd like to start this evening with the swearing-in ceremony for Cole.
Sure.
So,
Chairman, yeah, I'll just open it with a couple of things. So as those in the audience know and those watching on TV, we typically don't swear in our career members until they're done with recruit fire school. We don't swear in our volunteer members until they've finished Firefighter 1. In this case, Cole, my son, started Firefighter 1 while he was still a senior in high school last year. I knew he was taking this seriously at 2 points in time. The first was when it was his high school graduation party, and he had to go to bed early because he had to do a test the next day. And the second was when we were in Florence, Italy. And Florence, Italy doesn't really do fireworks quite like we do fireworks here in the States. It's a big deal when there's fireworks in Italy. And so the entire city was out. And rather than watch the fireworks, he needed to study for a test. And so we found a bodega nearby and studied for about an hour and a half with the fireworks going off in the background. So that's why I knew he was taking this seriously. He's completed Firefighter 1, he's completed a hazmat awareness and a hazmat ops. He's been with Northeast now for over a year, or probably at 14, 15 months. His company's been great, they've supported him. He's at the point he could be sworn in.
well, it's a wonderful opportunity for me as chairman of the Fire Commission, and it's just a joy to see yourself, Cole, a wonderful young man, beginning a new career as a volunteer firefighter, and I know you have aspirations to become a full-time firefighter one day. Your mom and dad have done a marvelous job in raising you and your siblings here, and to follow in the steps of your dad and your grandfather is just a wonderful tradition. So I'm honored to perform this swearing-in ceremony. So I'm going to ask you to please stand up front there, and I'm going to walk around here. And I'd like you to raise your right hand, please. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the state of Connecticut and the rules and regulations of the North Haven Fire Department as written and amended by the Board of Fire Commissioners, and that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties as volunteer firefighter of the Town of North Haven Fire Department to the best of your ability, so help you God?
Yes.
Congratulations, welcome aboard.
So I've got something for Cole I know he's been trying to get his hands on for quite some time. We don't know how important this is when you're no longer a probationary firefighter. So Cole, why don't you come grab your helmet, all right, wear it with pride, and again, man, congrats. Proud of you.
So Chief,
Quick 5-minute recess.
quick
if you don't
5-minute
mind.
recess. We're going
Just
to
a
take
few
some
minutes.
family photos. So with the permission of the commission, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
So moved.
Thank you. I'd like to reconvene the, excuse me, the North Haven Fire Commission meeting for February 25th. The next agenda item will be the promotion for the Fire Explorer. Chief?
Chairman, thank you. Commissioners, please allow me a moment to explain the background in this. So if you're not familiar with this, we have an affiliation with the Boy Scouts of America that allows us to function an Explorer post. We've been doing this now. We're probably in our 7th to 8th year-ish doing this. We have individuals, men and women from 14 on, that we start to introduce to the fire service. The program varies depending on the time of year, but here's a takeaway from it, is that you have dedicated volunteers that have put hours and hours into this program, training the youth of North Haven, in some cases out of town individuals as well. And so what happens is when they reach the age of 16, and or they have also completed a series of tests. So they've done dozens and dozens of hours worth of training. We have testing on file that indicates that they have met a standard. We have, as a commission before, allowed these explorers to start to respond to incidents, and we have it broken down which incidents they can respond to. They're not wearing an air pack. They are not responding into fires. It is a support function only. They're never putting themselves into an IDLH atmosphere, but nonetheless, it does continue that growth and that encouragement to move on with further training and hopefully capture their attention so they can move into a career someday. So with that, Deputy Chief Bisson has a few names the commission should consider allowing this.
Deputy Chief?
All right, so as the chief said, they meet weekly, they were meeting weekly, they're doing training, they did practical skills, they did a written test, they've demonstrated this. They've been coming to company drills and working with the volunteer captains. The volunteer captains feel comfortable with them being able to participate, ride, and observe. So the 4 names of the people that completed the testing are Naneshwar Baka, Laird Mathis, Rajav, I'm gonna mess this one up, Baradwas, and Jack Segna. Tonight, Laird is here with us as part of his commitment and coming to the drills. And we have another scout that's looking to be an explorer when he hits age, and that's Xander in the back right now. So those 4 names are ready to be able to ride on fire apparatus, observe at fire scenes, stay outside of the buildings as the chief described.
Perfect. Well, we certainly welcome you and thank you for your participation. It's certainly a lot of work, I'm sure, and it appears that you've already developed a wonderful relationship with our volunteers and with our senior leadership. And we look forward to you continuing on and one day being sworn in as a volunteer firefighter, as Cole was this evening. And for yourself, young man, thank you for taking the time and the interest in the fire service. It is a profession that many people just are thrilled to have young people like yourself participate in. And we as fire commissioners are very happy to welcome you to this Explorer program when you reach the age. So thank you for your interest and thank you for your participation. Chief, what other
Nothing further. If the
action?
minutes could just reflect the 4 names, I don't believe a motion is needed, that's all.
All right, and any questions from any of our commissioners? Thank you very much. We appreciate you being here, and the best of luck to you in school and with your education in the fire service. Thank you.
Thank you guys, yeah, appreciate it.
If you guys want to stay for the meeting, you're welcome to do so. Otherwise, go home and eat some dinner.
Yeah.
So our next agenda item is to introduce our town attorney, Jeff D'Onofrio. Attorney Jeff D'Onofrio. Attorney D'Onofrio is here as a result of a letter that the commission composed on October 31st, outlining a number of questions. A meeting took place with the 2 town attorneys, our first selectman, our Rich Monaco, our finance director, our deputy chief and chief, and the issues were discussed, and we agreed to have the town attorney present recommendations and suggestions and also answers to the questions that were brought up during that meeting. So as a result of that, Attorney D'Onofrio is here to address the questions that were raised that particular day. Attorney D'Onofrio.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd be remiss if I didn't congratulate the chief. That's absolutely fabulous that you've got your son as a volunteer firefighter. Thank you
Thanks,
for
Jeff.
passing that service on to to your son. That's,
Appreciate it. Thank you.
That's spectacular. It's a treat for me to be here for that.
Appreciate you being here. Thank you.
So when it comes to the fire commission, as with all elected or appointed boards and commissions in the town, the first place that we look at from a governance perspective is the town charter, right? Because the town charter is the organic law of the town, as it is with all towns in Connecticut that have a charter, because Connecticut's a home rule state. And the North Haven Charter doesn't say much about the Board of Fire Commissioners. What it says in section 302, which governs all the elected boards and commissions of the town, is it says there shall be a Board of Fire Commissioners consisting of 5 members, each of whom shall be elected for 4-year terms. Simple enough, right? The Board of Fire Commissioners shall have the powers, duties, and responsibilities, and shall be subject to the restrictions and limitations specified in the Connecticut General Statutes with respect to boards of fire commissioners, or as may be deemed appropriate to such boards. So essentially what the charter does is it refers to and incorporates the Connecticut General Statutes. The Connecticut General Statutes, to the extent that they identify duties and responsibilities of elected boards and commissions, are kind of all over the place. Some are very specific, some are somewhat vague. I would consider the statute with respect to boards of fire commissioners to be in the middle. It's not as specific and detailed as the statute for boards of police commissioners, but it's more specific than some other, not as specific as boards of education, which is the most, kind of the gold standard in terms of setting out duties and responsibilities. But it's probably more detailed than a land use agency like wetlands or zoning board of appeals or planning and zoning commission. So that statute is Connecticut General Statute 7-301. And what 7-301 says is towns have the option of providing for the protection of property within their limits and for the establishment of a town fire department and for the management and control of the fire department by either the Board of Selectmen, or if there's a town council, which we don't have as our legislative body is a town meeting, by the town council, or by a board of fire commissioners, in whatever number and for whatever terms as the town opts. So the town of North Haven, when it created its charter, opted, rather than having the Board of Selectmen be responsible for the oversight and management and discipline of the fire department, to create a Board of Fire Commissioners. And you find folks volunteered your time and continue, some of you for a very long time, some of you with breaks in between, to serve as the Board of Fire Commissioners. Now, beyond that, the statute doesn't give you much, okay? It tells you that the board can make regulations for the conduct of the fire department and that you can appoint, discipline, and remove for cause employees of the department. And you can purchase supplies and equipment necessary for the operation, provided that you do so within the appropriation of funds that you receive, right? Because you're not the fiscal entity for the town. The only fiscal entity we have is the Board of Finance. So as you know, in the annual budget for each fiscal year that begins July 1, every department of the town gets an appropriation. The charter and the Connecticut General Statute 7-348 prohibit departments from expending funds in excess of their appropriation. Okay? So what it comes down to for you is you also have to deal with collective bargaining agreements. So when it comes to hiring, when it comes to promoting, when it comes to terminating or disciplining, you also are bound by the terms of the collective bargaining agreements that are bargained for, negotiated, and approved through the collective bargaining process. But beyond that, there's not a heck of a lot of guidance in the statute. So as the chairman indicated, we met back on November 14th. And I was asked the question of, how can we better formalize what it is that the Board of Fire Commissioners does. And so what I recommended at that meeting, and what I continue to recommend, is that we propose an ordinance that sets forth the duties, responsibilities, and powers of the Board of Fire Commissioners. Because as I said, right now, we've got this charter that says there's a Board of Fire Commissioners, and there's 5 members, and they get elected to 4-year terms. And whatever power they have is pursuant to the general statutes. And the general statutes say, in that one provision, 7301, that you have responsibility for the management, discipline, and control of the fire department. You can make regulations for the conduct of the fire department. You can appoint, discipline, and remove for cause employees of the department, and you can purchase equipment and supplies within the appropriation. But beyond that, it doesn't really tell us much. So, what I recommend is that we propose an ordinance to the town meeting for its consideration, go first to the Board of Selectmen. And I made a list of things that I think, 11 things that I think that the Board of Fire Commissioners should have as specific duties. And the way that I've written this is pretty broad, right? Number 1, establish departmental goals, policies, and objectives. Number 2, review and approve rules and regulations as recommended by the chief. Number 3, conduct periodic reviews of the operations of the fire department and advise the fire chief and the first selectman concerning departmental issues and operations. Number 4, establish and implement policies for the recruitment, training, and retention of fire department personnel. Number 5, enter into mutual aid agreements with other entities pursuant to 7310, which authorizes fire departments to enter into mutual aid agreements. Number 6, make appointments to members of the fire department pursuant to 7301 as are funded through appropriations of the town. Number 7, supervise the care of all fire equipment, apparatus, and buildings, and make appropriate arrangements for reasonable maintenance. Number 8, recommend the purchase of new apparatus and equipment as needed. Number 9, prepare and submit to the first selectman an annual budget for the maintenance and proper care of all fire equipment and buildings as appropriate, and for purchase and for long-term capital planning. Number 10, purchase additional apparatus and equipment as approved by the town's Board of Finance, and if applicable, the town meeting. And number 11, such other duties as may be assigned to you by law, by charter, or by other ordinances of the town, by collective bargaining agreements, or by court orders. Now, I didn't make that up. That's taken from me, from other towns that I represent that have ordinances. Most towns do have ordinances that set forth the responsibilities and duties of both the Board of Fire Commissioners and the Board of Police Commissioners. So North Haven really could benefit from having an ordinance, both in terms of the current board and for folks in the future that want to know, hey, I'm considering running for the Board of Fire Commissioners. What's that all about? I also think it helps in terms of better communication and better expectation management in terms of what your roles are. And, this is not by any stretch written in stone. It's certainly subject to your input and revision, but that's a start.
Questions?
Go ahead. No, you go.
Go.
So you had mentioned that, that some of that we also have the collective bargaining agreement. So, in terms of discipline and suspensions and things like that, what does the collective bargaining agreement say? Does it indicate where those things should go?
I'm not the town's labor council,
Okay.
so I'm not familiar with the current collective bargaining agreement. I can tell you that I'm 99% confident that it assigns a certain amount of discipline to the chief.
Right.
Typically, you'll have suspension up to 3 days is typically what you see, and then beyond that, it would come to the board.
Okay. But it would come to the Board of Fire Commission.
Yes.
Okay.
And what happens is, and I am very familiar with the disciplinary process, okay? The authority that the chief has to discipline under the collective bargaining agreement is the chief's managerial discretion and authority. to the extent that the chief wants to impose a suspension longer than what he's authorized to under the collective bargaining agreement, or the chief wants to terminate an employee, then what the chief would do is the chief would issue charges in a letter to an employee saying, I'm charging you with violation of the following departmental policy, general order, statute, whatever it is that the chief, after an investigation, has determined the employee should be disciplined for. And I'm recommending, whether it's termination, whether it's discipline beyond what he's allowed to dole out under the collective bargaining agreement, then we would have what's called a Loudermill hearing. Loudermill is a United States Supreme Court case that identified that any public employee has a property interest in their job. And before you can discipline the public employee, they're entitled to minimal due process, which is called a Loudermill hearing. So what happens is you send a notice of the charges to the employee, and then the employee comes to you and has an opportunity in a hearing to refute those charges, to bring in witnesses, to bring in documents, to hire a lawyer, to bring union representation, to bring their mother, whatever they want. Whatever they want you to hear, they come to you and they say, here's why I disagree with the charges, and then you decide whether, if it's termination, you decide whether to terminate. If it's discipline beyond what the chief is authorized to provide, you make that decision following the Loudermill. And then the employee has a right to grieve that decision and to go to arbitration on that decision.
Counselor, does anyone else in the town have the authority to do that? Or just the chief? In other words, if the chief wants to discipline Johnny Jones, whether he suspends him, fires him, whatever, he comes to the board, or if it goes beyond the 3 days, does any other department other than the fire department have the right to discipline any of our firefighters?
No.
No one else?
The chief has authority under the collective bargaining agreement up to whatever the max is.
It's one tour. So when we went from 3 days on, 3 off to 24/72, the contract was updated to reflect one tour. Prior to that, it was in fact 3 days. Yeah, so one tour would be one 24-hour shift. Yeah.
So only the chief has that authority.
So the HR department has no bearing on a decision. So if the chief follows the protocol that you articulated, and the person decides to present or in front of this commission, HR is not involved in that decision. Is that what your interpretation is?
Well, again, there's two scenarios, right? One is the scenario where the chief under the collective bargaining agreement has authority to discipline up to one tour, and the chief can go ahead and do that, all right? The second scenario is where the chief wants to impose discipline beyond one tour, in which case it comes to the board. If the first selectman or the director of finance and administration want to weigh in, they can do that. But ultimately, the chief has authority up to that one tour, and then you have authority beyond that.
So their weighing in would be suggestions or recommendations to this commission?
Only.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Suggestion and recommendation only. They can't say Johnny Jones is being suspended or terminated
Or not?
or not.
Correct.
They don't have that right.
Correct.
So historically, we should go back to day one where we always had that, basically with the chief. That was the chief's responsibility from day one when I came on.
Well, again, it's defined by the collective bargaining agreement, because the collective bargaining agreement, right, is, hey, we have a whole bunch of language. We have a whole bunch of wage and benefit terms and conditions. And we're bargaining, the whole document is bargained for, right? I'm not labor counsel, but that's the process, right? Is you bargain for everything that's in there. So they've agreed that the chief can discipline them up to one tour, so that authority contractually belongs to the chief.
Right. And then if it goes beyond one tour, which used to be 3 8-hour shifts, it comes to us.
Yes.
But to really I guess to pinpoint it, there's no political interference with this or any other department interference with this.
No,
It's the chief only. He has
up to what the contract
up
says
to
he can
what the
do.
contract says.
Yep.
Then it comes to the board.
Yes.
But eliminating the board at this point, I just want to make sure that historically, it's always been the chief, past contracts, present contracts. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that there's no political interference from either, in this case, we have a first selectman, not a mayor, chief of finance, finance director, whatever you call him.
Yeah.
There's no one else that puts their thumb on our paperwork. The chief has the only fingerprint.
So I guess my one follow-up question is, that process did not happen recently. And so, I appreciate you coming here and clarifying it for us, and I like the idea of an ordinance. But, you know, there was a suspension that didn't follow what you just said, so how do we make sure that doesn't happen again? I guess that's my big question.
I'm not privy to, again, I want to be helpful, but I'm not labor counsel, so I was not involved in the matter that you're talking about, so I can't comment on how something went down, whether it was done incorrectly or not, because I wasn't privy to it. But the reality is that, again, there's two discipline scenarios. One is what the chief is given for jurisdiction under the CBA, and the other is you. So I don't know what transpired, but if my suggestion would be that if something like that is happening in the future, that we get together and have a meeting like we did in November and get on track.
So, we created.
Prior to any suspension.
Yeah, right.
Or termination.
Yeah.
Right.
So we created a number of questions that my expectation is that proposing the establishment of an ordinance would more than likely help to structure and answer. So just bear with me a moment.
Sure.
The current authority of the Fire Commission within North Haven will be identified in this proposed ordinance and the statute.
Right, what you're doing is that you can't contradict the statute, so what you're doing is expanding on, this, you're explaining the statute. Because right now, the statute just has a few words. So
Right.
what does all that mean from I mean, you don't have to have an ordinance. You can just kind of feel your way through it. I just don't, it doesn't make any sense to me that you wouldn't have an ordinance.
It makes sense to me as
Makes
well, and
sense.
I'm sure to the rest of my colleagues here. So under the Connecticut General Statute, 7-301, does the town currently assign management, discipline, and control of the fire department to the Board of Fire Commissioners? Well, and that was a question that we had prepared earlier, and my understanding, based on what you indicated, is yes, that in fact happens after the chief goes through his process, and then after that one shift, it comes to this commission. Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. And our town charter explicitly recognizes or limits this authority because of the vagueness of it. So this, the ordinance would give it more understanding in greater depth.
it's not that the charter limits it, it's that the charter only makes reference to the statute. And the statute is so broad that you're kind of speculating about what it means.
Okay.
You know,
So,
you're left to interpret it, and the less you have to interpret, the
The
easier
better
it
it
is to
is.
do your job.
So if challenged, what's the strongest legal argument supporting the board's historical authority?
What do you mean by historical authority?
So what we had made decisions upon previously, I
Yeah.
mean, is the history I guess the predictor of the future, or this ordinance would then identify what the rules or
The
regulations?
ordinance is a clarifier.
Okay,
Right now, like I said, the statute gives municipalities the option of creating a board of fire commissioners, or in towns with no town council as a legislative body, having the board of selectmen do it. In North Haven, we've got a board of fire commissioners, obviously, as an elected board. And the language in there says that, you know, you're responsible for management, discipline, and control. Those are management and control are very broad words. Discipline is narrow enough, but management and control are very broad. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to say, okay, we don't want there to be different opinions about what management and control mean, so we're gonna create an ordinance that's gonna delineate what we're supposed to be doing to manage and control.
Okay.
What is the difference? You said that there's a little difference between police commission board and fire commission board. What is the difference?
There's just more language in there about what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay. And I'm just asking broad questions, do they have the right, if the chief came to them and said, we want to buy 3 more police cruisers, does their board have the right to push that through finance?
Well, I mean, departments, the financial structure in Connecticut, under every town that has a charter, because of Connecticut General Statute 7-348, is every department gets an appropriation. No department can expend funds for any purpose other than for which they've been appropriated, and no department can expend or commit funds beyond the appropriation. So anybody can come to a board and say, hey, I want a special appropriation, right? Because you've got the budgetary process where you present your budgets on an annual basis, right? We're in the heat of the budget season right now, right? And then you've got the special appropriation. So in the past, in the 30-something years that I've been representing North Haven, when the fire department has had a need to purchase an apparatus, or the fire department has had a large capital need to spend money that hasn't been included in the annual budget, that's the process. You go to the Board of Fire Commissioners, or the chief goes to the first selectman and says, hey, I need this. And then it gets teed up at the Board of Finance. The Board of Finance recommends the appropriation to the town meeting. The Board of Selectmen calls the town meeting, and then the appropriation is made by the town meeting.
Okay, and I don't want to nitpicking get hung up on any one word. Obviously, you're the attorney, I'm not.
That's right, don't you forget it.
I know that, Counselor. I've been made aware of that many times. Still hasn't stopped me though.
No, never has.
If the chief needs something, piece of apparatus, more firefighters, he comes to us, we agree with him, we want to go to the Board of Finance with that process, Board of Selectmen, and we ask that the Board of Finance presents that at a town meeting, and we know that the chief needs those bodies, or the chief needs that piece of apparatus. With that, and us behind the chief, does the Board of Finance have the right, or the finance director, whomever, or whoever, all of them, have the right to say, no, we don't think that's appropriate to go before the town? Or they have the obligation to take our word and say, okay, fine, we may not agree that we want to use blue pens, but the chief said we need blue pens, the board agrees with blue pens, we are going to present this to the town for a vote. We're not going to stifle it and stop it at our board. I don't think that they have that right. Otherwise, what's the point of having a commission?
The Board of Finance, the statutory framework in Connecticut is that the Board of Finance is the fiscal authority for the town. So if the Board of Finance doesn't recommend an appropriation to the town meeting, it doesn't get to the town meeting. They do have that power.
So that's the answer, Pete.
So no,
That's it. They're the fiscal
That's the answer.
watchdog of the town.
So that's the watchdog. So in other words, we need something, we go to the Board of Finance, they say no, the town never hears about it.
That's it.
I mean, that's the structure of our town government. So as elected fire commissioners, we could recommend, based on the chief's needs and the department's needs, we could make that presentation to the selectmen, who then speaks to the Board of Finance, and the Board of Finance ultimately makes the decision as to whether or not that gets presented to the public. Is
It's
that,
no-
is that correct?
That's right. It's no different than any other board, including the Board of Education. I got subpoenaed to testify at a jury trial today. I had to go to Bridgeport this morning. I was on the Board of Ed in Trumbull for 6 years. And there was a guy that was terminated after I left the Board of Ed. And they're suing the Board of Ed, and they subpoenaed me to testify. And the lawyer for the plaintiff who subpoenaed me, one of the questions that she asked me was, did you ever not get something that you asked for? Did you ever not get something that you thought you needed? I said, our budget was cut every year. Our budget was cut by the Board of Finance, our budget was cut by the town council, our budget was cut by the first selectman, because Trumbull has a first selectman town council. So they had 3 different people whacking away at our budget. Because the issue in the case is whether or not he was terminated because of financial reasons. So there was a lot of interest in whether we were getting all the money we wanted or not. It's no different with any board or commission. You know, there's things that you could, in your heart of hearts, really believe that are needed, but ultimately it's the Board of Finance that decides whether to recommend the appropriation.
So I think that's a pretty clear legal interpretation of what our recommendations and suggestions are to the Board of Finance, but it's entirely up to them
To go to town.
as to whether or not they go to the residents of the town with our request, or they do not.
So technically, they're controlling what we spend, buy, or hire
Absolutely.
before it goes.
That's their
before-
job, that's their statutory
Before-
duty.
Before the town even gets an
Right,
opportunity to hear.
Well, I think the town has the opportunity here through our meetings, and also, I mean, you've gotten up in the last couple of meetings and advocated for, I think that is part of the public hearing, because we're letting them know what the needs are. And unfortunately, we can't control what the Board of Finance does, but I think part of our job is to inform the public of what the needs of the fire department are, so they can advocate for what they think they need.
And in the town meeting form of government that we have, our residents are able to get up to the podium and articulate their position and petition the Board of Finance or the selectmen in support or against a particular initiative or request. So we could make that recommendation. We know that we need it, and we feel strongly about whatever our recommendation is. However, the best that we can do is present it. And then it's out of our hands, it's into the finance department's hands. Board of Finance. Yeah. Thank you for that. Looking at, and we broached the subject of discipline. It's imposed, if it's imposed outside the fire chief's chain of command, does that expose the town to operational liability? So,
I mean, I don't know the specific facts, I can't give you an opinion as to whether the town has liability for doing something hypothetically, I can't.
so,
Can't do that.
so if the chief went through that process that we spoke about earlier and was going to suspend someone for one shift, and the person was going to protest that and come before us, and if any other town department or the administration, contributed to that discussion and circumvented the commission, would that be a liability issue for the town?
I can't give you hypothetical opinions, I don't
Okay.
do that.
All right.
Well, not hypothetical, but should they even do that?
I'd have to know all the facts.
Should they
I'd
even
have to
get?
talk to the other town officials involved and find out exactly what their version of the story is.
And I think you made it perfectly clear, it's the chief and the commission that have the responsibility for discipline. HR or the selectmen or whomever it might be could in fact contribute to that discussion, come before us or meet with us in advance to voice their opinion. But ultimately, the decision is this commission's.
Right, I mean, the first selectman under the North Haven, not only under the form of government, but also under the charter, is the chief executive officer of the town, and is an ex officio member of all boards and commissions, except for those upon which he's a voting member, including the Board of Finance and WPCA, right? So certainly, it's appropriate for the chief executive to weigh in, but like I said before, the process is bifurcated. It's either what's allowed under the CBA, and if more than that is sought, then it goes to this board. Ultimately, the decision gets made at this board if it's more than what the chief has authority to dole out.
And what you're proposing as a proposed ordinance, obviously it mirrors some other municipalities that
Yes,
you
it
have
Yep.
overseen and continue to. And I was pleased to hear that you would propose whatever that language is, and the commission would be able to contribute to some
Sure.
additional items that
Sure.
potentially could be added to it.
Yep. I can send it to you, Pat.
Yeah.
That's good.
Can I ask one question just about process? So if an ordinance is proposed, what's that process for how that works?
So you would ask the first thing that has to happen is you have to ask the Board of Selectmen to send it to the town meeting. So there would be, whenever there's an ordinance proposed, there's usually a robust debate at the Board of Selectmen meeting. Members of the public provide their contributions, and it's very rare that the first time an ordinance is discussed at a Board of Selectmen meeting, it goes straight to town meeting. Typically what happens is it gets discussed for the first time, there's debate, there's edits requested, then we go back a second time, sometimes a third time, and then eventually it gets submitted to a town meeting. There's a public hearing, right? The town meeting as a legislative body convenes in a public hearing. Folks are allowed, you can get up and support it and explain the reasons for it, and people can get up and make comments, make suggestions, propose edits, ask questions, and then once that process is done, the town meeting votes. And if it's adopted, then it becomes an official ordinance of the town, we publish it, and it becomes part of the books.
For the commission's edification, on our October 31st, the letter that was sent out and then a meeting that took place in November, this very issue was discussed, and Attorney Onofrio recommended the establishment of that ordinance. The first selectman was there, and certainly the finance director, and there was no objection at that time. And I think based on my observations, they were pretty much in agreement with clarity of establishing an ordinance, and Attorney Onofrio was willing to draft one up as he has already prepared that particular draft. So I would think that my recommendation is that we move forward with recommending the creation of an ordinance to better clarify the role and responsibility and the verbiage that has been proposed, so that we would be able to take a look at that, add to it, and send it back to Attorney Onofrio. So that way there we would be able to really understand what our role and responsibilities are, and others will be able to understand it as well, so that we wouldn't have the same kind of a situation that arose previously in the disciplinary situation that arose. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I can tell you it's not unusual. There are several towns that I currently represent where questions about the authority of the police commission and fire commission are raised.
Mhm.
It especially comes up in the town manager, town council form of government, because the town council has, the town council form of government, if you're not all that familiar with it, if you took our town meeting, which is 20-something thousand people, right? and you reduced it to 5 or 7 or 9, right? And that's the power of the town council. And so in towns that have a town council, there's often a little bit of a disagreement about the town council's jurisdiction versus the board of police commissioners, the board of fire commissioners, especially in the town manager, town council form of government, because the town manager has an enormous amount of authority as well. So North Haven's a little bit different in the sense that it's the largest town in New England that still has the town meeting form of government, but the first selectman does have, under the charter, a tremendous amount of authority and responsibility because he's identified as the chief executive officer of the town, and he's the purchasing agent for the town. So that's a little bit extra responsibility versus some other typically larger towns where you'll have a purchasing agent rather than the mayor or the chief elected official being responsible for purchasing. In North Haven's charter, it's the first selectman.
So would you say our next step as a commission would be to compose a letter to the first selectman recommending the creation of a ordinance? Is that our next step?
What I could do is send you what I drafted, since we already talked about it in
Yes.
November. I don't think you have to send a letter.
Okay.
I think I'll send it to you, and the you folks can review it and make any edits you want to it. You can have me come back if you want to have me come back and talk to you about any questions you have, and then you can submit it to Mike's office and ask that it be put on Board of Selectmen agenda.
Sounds good.
Sounds good to me.
Lou,
Yes.
you all right? Mary Jane? Yeah. Chief, any thoughts, comments? Deputies? Thank you.
Sure.
I appreciate the legal advice and the clarity, and I think we have a direction that our commission can go in, and a clearer understanding as to, or we will have a clearer understanding as to what our role and responsibilities will be. Thank you, Attorney D'Onofrio. We
Good
really
to see you
appreciate
all.
it.
Always a
Jeff, thanks for being
pleasure.
here. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Haven't been in this building in a long time.
Welcome anytime.
Absolutely.
You remember building it?
Have a good night.
Thank you very much.
Drive safe.
Appreciate
Sorry,
it.
Counselor.
Well, to say the least, that was a very interesting legal interpretation. I look forward to his draft coming before us. And any edits that any commissioner feels like we would like to include, to be able to send back to the attorney. And we can move forward from there.
Maybe when he sends it, we could call a special meeting, just,
We could probably address it during a regular meeting, just as we are here, yeah. Let's move forward on the current agenda here. So I'm going to ask for the approval of the minutes of the Board of Fire Commission regular meeting that was held on January 20th, 2026.
so move.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is there any question on the motion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? So moved. The Chief's report.
Commissioner, Chief's report. I'm going to start with year-to-date calls. So year-to-date, as of this time, 2025, we were at 673. Year-to-date 2026, as it stands, as of yesterday, February 24th, we were at 684. Since our last meeting, we provided ALS interceptor transport on 16 different occasions. We've had 19 incident responses to the highway, and there was 139 incidents in which no FD resource was dispatched. We were able to dispatch just an ambulance. Overlapping calls, 103 occurrences, so 103 different times. We had overlapping calls. It accounted for 248 incidents. And out of the 486 incidents that we've had since our last meeting, that accounts for a 51% overlap in calls. So again, 51% of the time that an incident is occurring, there's another incident happening simultaneously, one or more incidents happening simultaneously. Regarding our budget, fiscal year through current day, 63.6% spent through current day on our budget. And I have revenue fees to report regarding fire fees. So the fire marshal's office, just under $148,000 in this fiscal year. And regarding paramedic fees, just over $41,000.
How did we all of a sudden get those numbers?
I was provided numbers by the finance department.
Okay.
A couple of things that are impacting the budget that are worth discussing. So again, remember that we've had a number of vacancies associated with injury leave and so forth. The most recent ones that I have to report are I have one member who's been out now since January 31st with no timeline on a return. And I have another member who went out on February 18th with no timeline on return. I have 2 vacancies right now that we're filling with overtime due to issues we've talked about in the past. And I have 3 individuals in the academy, which I can cover later. So those are some of the items that are significantly impacting the budget for this year, this fiscal year. Any questions so far?
One quick question just on the revenue numbers. So the fire fees, you said 148,000?
Yes,
under, yeah.
just under $140,000.
And do you remember what was in the budget in terms of what was anticipated?
4 or 450. I don't set those revenue number lines, which is why I don't know off the top of my head. They're set for me. But it was $450,000, one or two.
What about the paramedic?
I believe that is still set at 80 or 90,000 by finance.
Okay. And how far are we into these?
So this is fiscal year. So we are just over halfway through fiscal year.
Okay.
Because this particular number reported at the end of January, so 7 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
That 90,000 was the original number when we established the program.
Correct.
For the
That's right.
compensation at that point.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I'll move on to the fire marshal's report, which was provided to each of you prior to this meeting. There's a few things I can point out there. 8 fires in the month of January that required a cause and origin report. I have on there a number of inspections that occurred, and on, I believe it is your last page of the fire marshal report, where it says January 2026 on top, you can see the inspections that occurred at the various occupancies, the code violations that were found. It's just important to note that even with, new buildings necessarily, down, which is evident in the building and fire collection of fees, you can still see that things are still moving in, because every time a like business moves into another occupancy, there's still plans that have to be submitted. There's still what we call tenant fit outs. And so there are still a number of plans and permits being processed. The fire marshal's office alone had, it looks like 28 plan reviews to do in the month of January, 37 permits. And we continue to field dozens of public record requests and public inquiries. And then we had one incident in which we had to call the investigators out to the scene for a cause and origin report. That covers the fire marshal's report. Any questions of the fire marshal's report? If not, I'm going to move on to the deputy chief of operations for a report, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. I passed out a summary for the month of January. In January, career firefighters completed 906 individual training hours, and volunteer firefighters completed 164 individual training hours. That was spread over 300 combined drill hours. You can see the breakdown by category on the list there. The focus for the career members in the month of January was EMS refreshers. As you know, we're licensed by the state of Connecticut and also the National Registry, so there's certain continuing education requirements that each licensed paramedic and EMT needs to maintain. We provide the opportunity in January, February to try to get those hours completed and make sure everybody's on track for that. Also, we did have ice this year, apparently a lot of snow, so we did quite a bit of ice rescue training this year, both with the career and volunteer departments. We're required to do annual respirator fit testing. We completed that for all career members in January. Prior to that, we did that for the volunteers in December. And we also had some employee wellness training going on. For the volunteers, in addition to ice rescue training and equipment maintenance, we did some hazmat operational refresher training, using gas meters and things like that when they're responding to calls, especially this time of year. We have had a very high influx of carbon monoxide emergencies with all this snow. What's happening is the snow is drifting up against the houses. The new higher efficiency furnaces have a very low output vent, and the snow builds up against that, and it can have carbon monoxide build up in the homes. We've had a lot of those going on. We've been encouraging people to keep the vents clear on their houses. If you look at the back report, you'll see some of the pictures from our in-water training, both daytime, nighttime, career, volunteer, all up at Quinnipiac University. Again, allows us to go onto their pond and train up there. Do you have any questions for me?
God bless you. Certainly like to thank Quinnipiac University for allowing us to do so. It's, you know, they're great neighbors, and not only financially contributed to the department with the monies that the first selectman allocated toward the training center and for the renovations at Northeast, but you know, to do this is really nice of them. So I certainly appreciate that. Any questions of the deputy?
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could move on to the Deputy Chief of Administration, please, for a brief report.
Please.
Good evening, Commissioner, and thank you. On mine, luckily the apparatus and the status of that has been pretty well. Engine 6 was out of service for a leaf spring replacement over at Superior Spring for a cracked leaf spring. On return of that, we had a check engine light that came on that has been somewhat persistent. Unfortunately, New England Fire Apparatus is not able to fix that. It is currently over in Cummings at Rocky Hill for a full evaluation of that engine itself. As that second sheet shows with the calendar, that is the only apparatus that we have had out of service for the current month of February to date. I have listed on here that there was no hydrants that were out of service. Unfortunately, that number has increased to 1 as of about 2:30 today. When crews were out there diligently shoveling fire hydrants, they had recognized that unfortunately one of them was hit. We're going to assume by a plow truck due to the sheer fact of the amount of snow that was around it. That is currently out of service, but the water company was able to shut the hydrant off after it was leaking, and that is going to be on a repair order. Was completed. We had a shift commander meeting that was successful with our 4 shift commanders as with the admin staff over the last month, and we were also awarded a grant from Home Depot in the amount of $1,385.59. Both Chief Bisson and myself had worked with the North Haven Board of Education and the high school in their technical ed program to build and assemble what we call dowel houses for Chief Bisson to perform some fire flow presentations with that. There will be live fire presentations, and the students that are our volunteer explorers that are currently at the high school are going to work in the wood shop to construct these. Home Depot was generous enough to award us a grant for the funding of all these materials that we're going to be utilizing for that project. So again, we thank Home Depot for that award. Some things that are upcoming in regards to apparatus. Rescue 1 has a factory recall that will be sent out to Brantford Ford to be able to get that fixed. And then we do have with the Department of Public Health our current inspections for both of our ambulances, which is both Rescue 1 and Rescue 2, which will take place at the end of March. And we do also have slated Jim Rascati and Danielle Sirachi, 2 licensed clinical social workers that are going to be coming back for the second time. They were here in September of 2025. They're going to be coming back in March for wellness visits one-on-one with each of our firefighters and the entire staff as well.
Very good.
The last thing I wanted to kind of go over with you, this is new for this month. We did have a very, very busy winter with the amount of snow that had come down. With that, we rely heavily on our volunteers to be able to staff their stations. As you're aware, Monday through Friday, both engines, Engine 6, Engine 4, and Engine 7 from Northeast and West Ridge go out of service at 7 a.m. And then they're coming back online. Engine 7 over at West Ridge comes back online at around 3 o'clock, and Engine 6 and Engine 4 over at the Ridge come back online at around like 5 o'clock. These are just some statistics of showing some of the in and out of service for both those apparatus at both stations. Unfortunately, Engine 6, as you can see, there was 4 specific evenings that they were out of service. This has a lot to do with, unfortunately, the lack of our volunteers at this point in time, the commitment that we're asking them to leave their homes during these snowstorms. A lot of them work for Public Works or have their own individual plowing companies, that they're out working and clearing storms and doing their job. So unfortunately, those evenings we ran short. We were short-staffed at those stations to be able to provide coverage to the entire town. Those are just a few dispatch numbers. Engine 6 again was dispatched to 21 calls, Engine 7 to 18 calls. The response was 10 for Engine 6 and 14 for Engine 7. Engine 4 was not shown on this just due to the sheer fact that Engine 6 is out of service and Engine 4 was in place of that during this period of time.
Can I just clarify real quick, just to make sure I understand? So engine 6 is northeast,
Engine 6, no, is West Ridge.
is West Ridge, and 7
Is going to be northeast.
is northeast. Okay, I had them backwards. Okay. Okay.
And the new ladder truck is in?
It is currently up at New London. It's getting serviced and it'll be back here hopefully within the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, unfortunately, that has not gone in service yet. A couple of things that were found upon delivery. We've been through training all the shifts. The manufacturer provided some training on site for our volunteers in the career. But in the process of doing that, found a couple of things that required to go back to its vendor.
Speaking about the fire hydrants and the one that was struck by a plow, I'd like to just thank the residents that have been shoveling out fire hydrants for us. It's really appreciated. And if you do have a fire hydrant in close proximity to your home, and you have some young person that's able to shovel that hydrant out, we certainly would appreciate it. It helps our department when we're looking to find the fire hydrant, especially with so much snow that we have gotten most recently. But critically important to make sure that it's clear in order to be able to hook up the hose as quickly as we possibly can. So if the residents could really keep an eye out and keeping those fire hydrants clear, it would be very much appreciated by the commission and the department. So on that note, anything else, deputies?
Not at this point unless you have a question.
I have two things. First, when you're talking about the fire hydrants, I had seen on the news.
There was a compensation or something.
They were
I saw
doing
that.
they were doing a contest.
Yeah, that's what it was.
And basically, it wasn't like compensation for digging, but if you dug out some of the fire hydrants, then you got entered into some kind of prize.
Some kind of prize, yeah, I saw
And
that.
I think some of the, the kids got really into it and were digging out all the, fire hydrants. Is there any possibility we could look into something like
Yeah,
that?
probably so.
Yeah, I saw a similar news article. I think we can look for something maybe next winter.
Yeah.
Put together what the rules might be, who's gonna organize it, how we're gonna get the donations, check with the ethics board, things like that. But yeah, I saw two departments doing something very similar.
Yeah, I thought it was kind of
That was cool.
cool that
Yeah,
they,
yeah.
all right, and I have one more question just about the engines. So here you have engine 6 is at West Ridge, but then here you have engine 6 is out. Is that because the engine numbers just flip?
Yeah, just due to our dispatch and our CAD system, Engine 6 is what responds first out of the West Ridge Fire Station.
But it's
So-
not necessarily engine 6 on here.
Correct, it's gonna be
Okay.
Engine 4 that was operating as Engine 6 to be able to have our dispatch appropriately, put the apparatus out into the call.
Okay, and that's why you said engine 6 and engine 4. Okay, got
Yeah.
it. Thanks.
Any questions, Commissioner? Hearing none, we'll move on to correspondence, Chief.
Correspondence, Chairman, the only thing I have besides a normal day-to-day correspondence is unfortunately the town of Bristol experienced a line of duty death or an active firefighter death. I'm not sure it was ruled line of duty or not. I continue to feel that when this type of incident occurs throughout the state, considering the loss that we've had and the number of departments that provided services for us so our members could attend to various services, we try to continue to have an obligation and pay it back. So We provided services to the town of Bristol for a period of time so their members could attend services, and that's just a letter from the town of Bristol's fire chief I wanted to make sure the commission was aware of.
Thank you.
And Commissioner, you, as required by me, you're made aware when we send apparatus out of town for something like that, and thank you for allowing that.
Absolutely. So, and as the chief just indicated, anytime that the chief feels that one of our apparatus with personnel would be going out of town, he does notify me in advance. Certainly, I always approve that, and I appreciate the courtesy of that.
That's not necessarily for fire incidents, that's an automatic, but for
Yeah.
anything unusual like this.
Yeah, thank you for that. Any commissioners receive any correspondence?
No.
Hearing none, the old business for the department.
Old business, Chairman, I have one item, and that is that our 3 recruits in the Connecticut Fire Academy are progressing well. They're 2-3 weeks in at this point. They are scheduled to graduate on May 20th. I would ask the commission to start keeping that date in mind, please. Typically, it's going to be in the afternoon. If you have not been to recruit graduation, it really is something that you should witness at least once. So again, that'll be May 20th. It'll likely be at a gathering hall church up in Bloomfield, Windsor area. And we are anticipating a swearing-in ceremony at fire headquarters for these 3 individuals the following day, which would be May 21st.
Okay.
More to come on that. We can't put anything out until we know that date is kind of locked in. Sometimes things happen at the academy, they gotta push graduation out a day or two, but as that starts to get closer, you'll see more correspondence come out about it, but just start to put those dates aside, please.
I saw some video on Facebook, and one of our full-time firefighters was doing the training.
Yeah.
And she does a marvelous job.
Are you referring to one of our career
One of
firefighters?
our
in the
career
training?
firefighters, yes.
We have a few career firefighters that are very involved in training, and a couple in the physical fitness side.
And,
Yes.
I was watching, and holy moly, she was putting them through the paces there.
Yeah, as she should.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a proud moment, actually, to
I
see
agree.
one of our full-time firefighters doing that.
I agree.
Yeah.
Yes.
Before you go on, I just have one piece of old business, and this is very old business, but the attorney brought it up tonight. The rules and regulations, we sort of never went back to that, and the language in it is pretty out of date, so I don't know if we can, I know there were things that you wanted to go into in terms of more operational kinds of things, but I don't know if maybe we can have the commissioners look at it and even just help a little with some of the language that just is completely out of date and needs to be updated. That way we can kind of start moving that along, because that's really over,
Of course, yeah. Without, constituting a meeting, the commission, we can start to work on that. I have some
Okay.
updates for you and some other things in executive session.
Okay.
That we've been working on. This was not one of the items we've been working on, but, nonetheless, we can. And if you could start to kind of look at some of the departments and see what you think, looks good. That a lot of these departments post their rules and regulations online. So if you have any ideas, let me know, and we'll start to put that on a short list of things to do.
Okay, great.
Chief, anything else for new business? I know we had the 2 items that we've already addressed. Anything further?
The only other new business item I had was to give the commission some awareness, because I anticipate it happening between now and our next meeting, is there has been some conversation about reducing, taking reductions out of the budget proposal for next year. There's been some conversations between department heads and the director of finance and the first selectman about putting forth some voluntary reductions in what was provided to the Board of Finance in the workshop. So the last workshop just happened last week, and so I'd anticipate something to come out shortly, more refined in terms of, provided on this paperwork or this letterhead or whatever. And so more to come on that, but we'll need to start to take a look at what we can voluntarily pull back from our requests.
And are we still in a purchasing freeze mode?
Essential purchases only, yes.
And how does that affect us
So far,
at the moment?
yeah. So far, every purchase order that we've put through has been approved. We are being selective about what we're trying to accomplish right now. We're going to leave some things in a state of disrepair, just until, we get into the next budget cycle, but at this point in time, no impact on operations.
Okay, good. Was there a comment?
Yeah, Chief, you're saying that they're gonna pull back money? They're
Yeah,
actually
so-
pull money back?
Yeah, so it's likely that all of our requests are not gonna be fulfilled for the fire department, and so we're being asked to proactively determine which of those requests we could pull back.
I was at Board of Finance meeting the other night, and I spoke, I'm not gonna bore everybody here, but how could they pull back stuff if we need more?
Look,
We
I
don't
think,
have enough on there.
I think the town attorney, was pretty clear as to what the role and responsibility of the Board of Finance is. Even though our requests are presented, they are the ones that are going to be presenting the needs to the residents. And I think, if I'm understanding you correctly, out of, let's say, 20 items that we're looking for, they want us to evaluate that and really hone down on the items that we absolutely can't do without. And I know we probably need all 20 of the items, but in the meantime, we're not gonna get it.
Right.
So, I think that's the direction they're going in.
Oh, no, I understood that.
Yeah,
I understood exactly what he said.
yeah,
What I'm trying to say is, and that's why I asked him to clarify it,
right,
that whatever we suggest, recommend, is gonna die at the foot of the Finance Committee.
correct.
It's gonna die there. It's not. So I think this is why any and all opportunities we have as a commission and to speak to our friends, neighbors, or get out there in the media, whatever and however, is to explain to the town why we think it should come up at Board of Selectmen meetings, at Board of Finance Committee meetings, at the general town meetings, because it's gonna die at the feet of the Board of Finance. We know that. This is why last week I was at the Board of Finance and I explained to them, I brought them a map, I'm not gonna bore everybody with it, but we are so far behind. Forget about we're even. We're not floating on top of the water, we're underwater. We can't even get to the top to breathe. And they just keep building and adding and just making this town, and I explained to Mike, he's doing a great job, he's doing 2 jobs. And I think he's doing a great job, he's saving the town money on the second position. But in the meantime, we're building up a town, and again, this could go under new business and for the good of the department. Washington Avenue looks like the Bronx now. We have that new building on the left-hand side going up, that apartment complex. There's 3 high-rises across the street at the end of Bleecker Lane, and was that Warner Road, Chief? Another 100 single-family units are going up. There's 100 in Bleecker that are already up. We're putting 200 units or 150 units at Clintonville Road. I mean, Universal Drive. Every single inch of Universal Drive now is being occupied by now a new hotel. You have those pod restaurants, pod businesses. We have medical facilities now we're doing. We have 18 gas stations in town, Pat. Again, we have, if they want to take all the lane mileage that we cover, lane mileage, 91 Merritt Parkway, Route 40, it's a round trip to New York. We cover the largest amount of highway lane mileage than any other department in the state of Connecticut, with the least amount of personnel, the least amount of apparatus. We cover the railroad lines, about 15 miles. We cover the railroad yard with all hazardous chemicals. And they say, well, it can't happen, it won't happen. 10 years, 160 derailments, $8.9 billion in losses. They just had a shelter in place, I think in Mansfield, Connecticut somewhere, recently, last month. So it does happen. We take care of all that. We have 8 miles of Quinnipiac River that we take care of. I mean, we're gonna keep asking for more and building more. Well, like I used the term last week, I'll use it again. When you ask for rain, make sure you can deal with the mud, because we cannot do it without more firefighters.
This is why we have a chief and deputy chiefs. They know what we need. And listen, I'm not knocking the Board of Finance. They don't know what we need. They know about dollars and cents. Somehow they have to find it. They found money. They kicked the can down the road. They found money on the bridge on, what's that, Ridge Road, Chief, in Mount Carmel? It was a $1.2 million job last year, the year before. They kicked the can down the road. This year it has to be done. Happened to go to 2.2 million. Oops, small mistake. We started Town Hall. We found money for that, 800,000. Oops, we forgot to check the electrical system, it's outdated. Oops, we forgot to take out for abatement for for asbestos. Oops, we forgot to figure that there's brickwork to be done, it's a historic building. What'd the price go from? 800,000 to 1.2 million. That's not a small item we missed. I don't want to sound like Columbo. I got one more question to ask, but oops, we made a lot of oops here. So what about us? We stopped the purchase of an engine. It's coming in next year, the engine. We're going to cancel it out. It takes, what, 4 years to get an engine, Chief? 3.5 years?
Yep.
Let's say 4 years to get an engine. Next year, we're denying taking, what do you call the engine in this year. We're going to ask for an engine next year because we're going to need it. All this apparatus that's anywhere from 10 years old to 27 years old, it's out of time. If we put in next year for that order, it's going to go up a minimum. You say 25%, Chief, in the cost? Minimum 25%, so we're talking from a 1.3 engine to a 1.8 engine maybe. Almost $2 million. We have a 40-month wait to get that. Our 27-year-old piece is going to be 31 years old. Our 16-year-old piece is going to be 20 years old. So I understand the Board of Finance says no, and it drops dead there. But we have to get out. We have to get out to the public, whether we put letters to the newspaper, whether we get on shows, whether we go to each commission meeting, Board of Finance, selectmen. We have to get out there as a commission and push for the chief to get what he needs. This is why we have a chief. If we're just going to make one department run everything in town, we should get rid of the superintendent of school, get rid of the police chief, get rid of the fire chief, get rid of the director of public works. Just have one committee, Board of Finance, make all the decisions. We're going to give X number of dollars, live with it or don't live with it. So we need to do that. And maybe we have to look to alter money. I'm not looking to lay off anybody from any other department. I'm not looking to fire people, change, but we're looking to buy a trash truck for over about $500,000. Trash containers, $1.5 million. $1.5 million for plastic trash containers. The minute they hit the ground, they're worth the compensation of trash plastic, $1 a ton. That's all they're worth after that. So maybe we don't do that. We don't buy the truck, we don't buy the cans, we take that money and we put it into the fire department. Take the guys from Public Works, leave them, don't get rid of anybody, put them on different jobs in Public Works. Maybe take bids from outside contractors, let them absorb the equipment that we have, let them buy new equipment and let them take care of that. And any money that we save, again, not taking management, taking away their people. Don't buy and go forward with more equipment, with more different equipment that we have to maintain. Just get rid of that. Let's keep our money here and put it into public safety. We're first responders. We're the first guys in, the last guy out.
So Pete, you know, your comments are absolutely on target. And I certainly appreciate the effort that you've made at the Board of Finance and the time and effort that you spent in creating the map and all of the research that you did. The bottom line here is our residents need to become involved during the town meeting in order to articulate what their wishes are as far as public safety is concerned. We know what the needs are of the department. The chief has made us aware of what the needs are along with the deputies. We know how the town is continuing to grow economically from the economic development standpoint and all of the projects that you just mentioned in growth. So it just makes a world of sense to enhance your public safety. It just makes sense to do that. I think the public needs to come to that conclusion. They're addressing the school issues with the aging of the elementary schools. And so that is an issue that's being addressed. At the same time, residents don't want to pay extra in taxes. So it's a balancing act, and I think the residents of this town need to come to the conclusion as to what is important to them. How are they going to underwrite the cost of that? And it's I say this every year we go to the Board of Finance for our workshop. It's a daunting task to
Absolutely.
balance the needs of each department and the residents who are paying for it. I hear personally, and I'm sure many of us do, from residents who are saying, I can't afford another nickel because it's costing me more. I'm on a fixed income. I cannot afford any more, whether it be the schools or the fire department or the police department or whatever. And then you have people who have moved into our town, just bought homes for $500,000-$600,000, who are expecting the services because they purchased the property knowing that North Haven has an excellent school system and public safety. And so in order to maintain that image and that expectation, we need to move forward and enhance our public safety.
I agree 100%.
So the residents, and I guess our appeal is to the residents of the town of North Haven to come to the town meeting, come to a Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen meeting, and make your feelings known as to what you want this town to look like, how you want it to be taken care of as far as public safety is concerned. We've presented our needs, and our needs are to do the best for you, for your families. And I talk about how we take care of moms and dads and grandmas and grandpops and babies. That's what we do.
Exactly.
And the only way we can do that is by the town being willing to fund our needs so that we can provide the services and quality customer service to the residents, business owners, and visitors of North Haven. So as much as we want to be very clear as to what our position is, the responsibilities are in the hands of the residents.
Exactly.
So please,
And I asked them-
listen to this commission, listen to our chiefs as to what our needs are and how we can better serve you. But it's gonna cost money. There is no question about it. And, you know, in my work, I talk about it almost every day. It's not the money, but it's the money.
Right. And I encourage people to come to the Board of Fire Commission meetings also, to speak and hear what we're saying live. We need this. Like I said the other night also, and I've said this for years, when you talk about the fire department and what they need, the tools and the bodies, it's like being on a plane. The first thing a stewardess tells you, if we're gonna go down, put your mask on first, make sure it's secure, then help the person next to you. If our firefighters don't have the bodies with them and the equipment to help themselves first, they can't help you. And it's not like any other profession, and we all know that here, the chiefs especially, we all know that. It's like no other profession. If your trash, I use an example, if your trash gets picked up every morning at 6 o'clock, and we don't buy that new truck or those new containers, and it gets picked up at 12 noon, 6 hours later, not the end of the world. Nothing's gonna happen. Because if there's a holiday and trash gets picked up 24 hours later, there's no problem. So if it's a couple of hours late, it's not the end of the world. Our firefighters get called at 6 a.m. in the morning. If they're not at the fire in 8 minutes, not 8 hours, in 8 minutes, they surround and just drown the building. So either you lose all your property and or you lose lives. So that's where I think the equation is to balance money. Not lay off people, not fire people. Just don't buy equipment that we can do without, but equipment that we actually need and bodies that we need. I think we have to emphasize that every single meeting that we need that to go forward. That's a must. We have to have it. And I know taxes, people ask me, well, Pete, where's the money gonna come from? Your taxes may go up a little bit. They may go up a little bit. But that's the price you pay to live in a great community with the best of services, the best police, fire, Board of Ed, Public Works. We have the best of all. So you have to live that way. And like I said, one more thing, another department, any other department needs something. They need computers at the Board of Ed, they get on the phone, it's there 24 hours. Police need a cruiser, something happens, they gotta buy 2 cruisers, they go right to, what's that, Hamden, they go to Bob Thomas, they get one in 24 hours. Okay? You need a piece of equipment, you go to Clark and Wallingford, you get it in 24 hours. We need a piece of equipment, it's 4 years. So we don't have the luxury to wait.
Listen, your points are well taken.
I hope everybody listens
I
and
appreciate,
they come to the
I
meetings.
appreciate all your comments.
Can
Jen?
I have 3 quick points.
Yes.
The first is, in terms of the engine, that is, and not taking that engine, that did not actually go in front of the Board of Finance. That was not a decision they made. So that is something that still, I think, we can advocate for, because by turning away the engine, you cost money, and then when you go, exactly what you were saying, when you go to it's not spending money well. So that I think is still something that can be talked about, but I have a lot of things that I believe the Board of Finance.
I don't even know where that is right now, Chief.
There's been no definitive action taken
Yeah.
as of yet.
Yeah,
So it's still in play, I think.
Right, my only point is, I can blame the Board of Finance for a lot of things, but that decision, that many of them don't even know about it, so I just think that we need to be aware of the fact that that was not a Board of Finance decision, and that
It just didn't get to them.
it hasn't gotten to them.
Correct.
So that's one thing. The other thing is, what you just said about alternate spending ideas. This is something that I have brought to the Board of Finance for the last 3 years. We need to be creative in our budgetary process. And while everyone says, "Oh, we can't take away, picking leaves up at the street," or we can't take away unlimited dumping at the dump, unlimited dumping at your curbside. There are a lot of residents in North Haven who pay for it and don't get to make use of it, and they're not happy with that. So other towns do things differently, and while some people might say, "Oh, that's a great service," other people, it's a burden, because instead of having a library that's open during times that if you're a working person, you can actually get to the library, we have leaf pickup for everyone on the street. Instead of, if you're gonna save money by making people bag them, save money by making people bag them. So there's a lot of things that can be done, and I think if residents get up and talk about, my number one priority is that if I call 911 and my house is on fire or I'm trapped in a car, I wanna know that there's gonna be a response before anything else. And then if they have creative ideas on, because you're always gonna get, where's the money gonna come from? I don't want my taxes to come up. Start throwing out some of those creative ideas. And other towns do contract with trash removal. So they
Exactly.
still have trash removal, and somehow or another, they're doing that for some reason. I would assume it's a financial reason.
It's a financial
Yeah.
reason. It's cheaper.
Yeah.
They do one thing, they do trash removal, they do one thing. If you look at Universal Drive, private pickup. Look at Saco Point Road, private pickup. State Street, private pickup. Washington Avenue, private pickup. All the medical centers, private pickup. Dufco Park, all those. The college, the medical centers, all the condominiums, which I live in one. All the houses up on Bleecker Lane, there's 100 and something up there, that new development, another 100 houses. That's all private pickup. Everything is private, I mentioned so far. So there is ways to move money. Again, without laying people off, we don't want to take anybody's job away. I'm a union guy. I'm not taking away anybody's job, okay? I've been a union steward. I'm not taking away anybody's job. I fight for unions. But we can allocate the money in different directions.
Right.
Okay?
Look, I think, I appreciate all of this. I think this is out of our control at the moment. I think we've made our position very clear. I know, Jen, you had one more.
I have one more
Yeah.
thing that is, I think when you were, how this all started, was when you talked about the budget reductions. I do think it's a smart idea to go in and say, these are the areas where we think we could pull back on, because these are the areas that we think there should be no question, this is the highest priority. So I do think there might be, especially if they're asking, a benefit to doing some voluntary, we'll do without this year because we cannot do it without this year. So that's just my opinion about that.
Yeah, I'm waiting for some more correspondence to come out from the First Selectman of Finance Office, and when it does, I'll provide what's requested, and I'll provide a copy to you for the next meeting.
I just think it could be very strategic if.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you for your comments, I appreciate it. Next line item here is the good of the department. Chief, anything for the good of the department?
I two quick things. One, the deputy chief, I believe Naples referenced the Home Depot grant. I wanted to bring some awareness to that, which he has done. And have we talked about the RWA grant yet?
I think we brought that up.
We brought the last one? Okay, so two private grants like that. So that's all I have for good of the department, those two items. Yeah.
And again, many thanks to Home Depot for their grant. It's a valuable service in order to build those models. I know you had a demonstration most recently with the Christmas trees and other things. So those are really important educational opportunities that our residents can benefit from, and our firefighters in training.
And Chief, I just want to just bring one more thing up. And we did get a correspondence, I should go back a little bit. We received 2 checks.
Correct.
And we received one check from Sims as a donation I went out to get, and that was for $5,000. And we received another check from Carter Mario, from Alex and their office, and she especially was kind enough to give us $3,000 more. And I picked up another $2,500 along the way. So right now we have $10,500 that's going into a fund strictly for the fire department, probably to the volunteers, so the volunteers can buy stuff that we can put in for training. And it's all gonna go for training material.
Very good. Thank you for that effort. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Yeah. Public comments, I see no one's here at this moment. I'll entertain a motion to move into executive session.
So moved.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
So moved. I'd like to reconvene the Wednesday, February 25th, 2026 North Haven Fire Commission meeting. Is there any other business coming before this commission? Hearing none, I'd like to announce that the next Fire Commission meeting will take place on Tuesday, March 17, 2026, here at Montauk Company 2, 282 Quinnipiac Avenue. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Do I hear a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
This meeting's adjourned. Thank you very much.
The preceding program is brought to you in part through a grant from the town of North Haven. Watch town meetings or other videos on demand at nhtv.com.